All right, everybody. Welcome to 2022 Real Estate Show
Yes.
podcast. We are switching it up a little bit moving forward. Anthony's still around. He'll be here whenever he can, but gonna get more of our agents involved. And Stephanie Trovato here is joining me today.
Hi, guys.
Stephanie's been an agent with us since the summer.
Yeah, August.
Okay, and been in the business how long?
3 years.
Yep, good. Tell us a little about yourself to start.
So I recently joined the Anthony Butera team. I work with both buyers and sellers, anything real estate related, and love to get out there and help everyone with anything they're looking for and educate them on the market at the same time.
She's passionate. She's got attention to detail. All the things you'd want in a great agent. So she's going to have stay tuned with more to come from Stephanie and her career. So for sure. So we wanted to, first episode of the new year here, wanted to kind of, hit the reset button after the holidays and just kind of give a little bit of a market outlook for the coming months and into this year. So to recap the fall and the holiday season, I mean, what were your thoughts? What your perspective, being younger in the business, so to speak? What was your take on things?
We did not see the seasonal slowdown as much as years past. Even being new in the business, I felt like every day we were out there showing houses. New listings were hitting the market, so sellers were not afraid of that slowdown where typically they might only get 3 to 5 offers. They were ready to go, and we still saw houses selling way over asking for.
And I mean, we've and this is a topic that we've touched on many times, but it's good to always refresh based on time of year and what's happening in the moment. And you're absolutely right in terms of beating this to death over how many episodes we've done this, but the fall market is typically the slow time. Mm-hmm. We didn't really see that up till December. I mean, you tell me, but December was definitely that seasonal time period as expected, and nothing that creates panic or anything on my end.
Right.
Did you feel things came to a halt or slowed down in December, or were you pretty active?
I was pretty active until the week of Christmas.
Yeah. So last 2 weeks, Christmas, New Year's, just kind of typical people checking out and doing the holiday thing and getting the eggnog ready, right?
Right.
So, all right. So now we're in January 2022. What's your prediction for this year? What do things look like?
I think that we are going to still be in the seller's market, still going to be hot. I don't think we're going to see much of a huge spring market just because sellers still know right now that, why wait if I can do this now? And
so meaning things aren't going to wait until the spring.
Right.
When you say huge spring market, right?
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think I've been saying during this hot streak that we've had in terms of what the seller's market has been the last few years, that the spring market really starts in January. Mm-hmm. And without fail, and I've said this before too, first Monday after New Year's, phone starts ringing. Mm-hmm. It's similar to that. I'm going to start working out as my New Year's resolution and start exercising, losing weight, whatever. That people kind of have a similar attitude. If they have a goal of buying or selling their house, they're hopping on the phone that Monday and kind of getting things in order. You know? It's just like anything. You come out of the gate strong, and then sometimes things can fizzle out if somebody's not super motivated or doesn't have the right reasons for doing it. But that phone starts ringing. Did you feel that on your end?
I did.
Isn't it crazy?
Yes, and a lot of people just had a couple of questions, so it's good to educate them on what's going on and what they can expect.
Yeah, well, and that's what it's all about, right? I mean, we want people to contact us and engage with us as early on in their thought process as possible.
Right.
But certainly as early on in the actual process of what they're taking on to accomplish their goal. So meaning to the home buyers and sellers out there, the message is as soon as you start thinking about making a move, give us a call. Mm-hmm. Let's talk through it. Because we can just make sure that your thoughts are on the right path. And if they're not, generally that conversation goes well in terms of like we're straightening them out, right? In terms of just like, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but this is the way that it really works, right?
Right.
And, if you have like specific goals or plans in terms of buying or selling, and if, I always say like, we talk with a lot of people and they're like, I'm going to do something in April or even July. It's January right now. In real estate time, April may as well be 2 weeks from now, right?
Right.
Because you also got to keep in mind, like if your goal is to move in April, like move into your new house, then you really need to be under contract by
February.
March 1st at the latest, right?
Right.
And even that's cutting it close. So you got 2 months to get the financial stuff in order and find a house. And then, the challenging part, which we'll dive into, is, winning the offer, right?
Right.
So there's your phone blowing up now. That's good. That's no problem. So yeah, it's just the message would be to any home buyer or seller out there is just you're not bugging us, so to speak, when you just call to ask preliminary questions. We encourage it. You got to start somewhere. There's no point in doing this on your own.
Right.
Consult with a professional, and if you have plans or goals timing wise, chances are what you think you need to start doing by is off by a lot of times a couple months, right?
Right.
So what conversations are you having with people so far this year? What would you be telling them if they were saying, hey, I want to list my house in the spring?
So if someone's looking to sell their house in the spring, normally we have a initial walkthrough where, just get a feel for the house, go over if there's anything they feel like they need to update or anything they need to change. Sometimes they feel like they need to do it, and we'll say, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're still going to be fine with the conditions. So that's always good to, help them, steer them whichever way. If there is something they need to do, it gives them time to complete that before listing.
Yeah, and that just reiterates how important it is to start that process early, right?
Right.
Because, the last thing you want is, you're ready to get the house on the market next week, and we consult with you, and we're really adamant about, look, you should really do this.
Right.
You're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't. And then it delays you by a month.
Right.
Because, if you're not doing it yourself, the world out there right now, and it's kind of relevant to the topic too, that it's tough to find people to do work. The good people that do it are booked up solid.
Right.
And, the other segment of the population, I guess, isn't good, so to speak. I can say it. But, so yeah, plan ahead is what I just heard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Cool. What about buyers? What conversations are you having there?
For buyers, if they are looking to mortgage their home and take out a loan, we will go over the steps necessary to meet with the lender and start the ball rolling with the different programs they offer, first-time home buyer, doctor loans, such as that, so they have an idea of how much they have to save. So it's not a big shock when they're ready to start looking.
Sure. I always like determining what they're comfortable with financially, first and foremost, right? Just to see, hey, where do you want to be?
Right.
Okay, that's step one. All right, now let's get you tied in with a lender that can help and get down to the specifics of here's what it looks like, here's your options, here's what you need to do in order to get this.
Right.
Benefit or program or whatever, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't think about this. There's, interest rates vary based on timing, but also based on, financial profile.
Right.
So you may consult with a lender and they tell you, look, you can have a quarter of a point lower if you do this, this, and this. And it may take you 3 months.
Right.
Right? And again, another benefit to starting early.
Right.
So 3 years into business for you, you probably picked the craziest time ever in the history of real estate to get into it and have survived and thrived so far.
Right.
So, I mean, what's it been like the last 3 years in terms of this? How would you like? I love what we're doing here in terms of getting fresh faces and insight on the podcast. Describe the last 3 years of this seller's market from your perspective.
So when I first started in November of 2019, I had about 2 months of normal real estate market where
Okay.
my buyers were getting seller concessions
Yeah.
and no competition. So quickly, once COVID started, we adjusted to that, pivoted, and then we learned how to get more strategic to kind of work in a seller's market. So, escalation clauses. So my buyers were covered, not paying top dollar. So just learning different skills to help buyers in a seller's market is key.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's, you talked about the buyers there in a seller's market. And I think that's really where the conversation lies, right? Because it's like easy enough conversation as a seller.
right.
What can we do to get you the most possible? You're in that position
Right.
because of the market, right? So as a buyer, it's like, yeah, like, as you put it, like, what can you do to get a house that you really love? So that's all that matters, right?
Right.
But not have to just do something stupid or that you're uncomfortable with in order to get it.
Right.
Right. So that's what you've been, and I mean, really, year or two. So like before that, totally different world.
Right.
I mean, that fall 2019 market pre-COVID seems like 10 years ago at this point,
It
right?
does.
That was actually felt like a balanced market. There was a little funkiness going on there because we were coming off a strong seller's market at that point, the spring and summer. And I think everybody that time of year was like, I'm going to sit this one out. Let's see what happens. Maybe next year maybe it'll come down next year was the thought. And then it hasn't the last 2 years, right? It's just skyrocketed that much more. Because at that point, we were a couple of years in to things climbing already, price-wise,
Okay.
for the market in general. And then the fall seasonality that we typically have, that we talked about, that really wasn't the case this year, took hold. And, it was just slower. It was more balanced. There was more, like you said, your buyers were able to get some offers accepted with seller concessions, stuff like that. Some either balanced deals or like, some that actually favored the buyer could happen then.
Yeah.
Not so much after that.
Right.
So next year, describe the next, 2020, 2021. I mean, you got in the business and then COVID hit.
Yeah, so
God bless
I learned how to kind of, not scare my buyers away. We were doing virtual showings, had some offers accepted. Luckily, protocols came into place. We could go back out.
Yeah.
So we were in COVID with a strong seller's market. So again, we were just, if they wanted an inspection, we were putting caps to
Yeah.
cover them up to a certain amount without scaring
Yeah.
the seller. So
Right.
different strategies were key to helping me succeed as well as helping my buyers.
Yeah.
Sellers as well, when we receive offers, going over all the terms, sometimes it wasn't highest price. So it's always key to kind of go over everything and educate them on the
Sure.
risks of some of the offers and
Yeah. I mean, you're touching on like really what almost like the fundamentals of our career, our job is, right? In terms of like making sure that people are protected while also helping them accomplish their goals.
right.
Because for buyers, it's like, you love this house, you want this house. All right, here's, our job at that point is like, all right, let's figure out what we can what we think is going to win the deal, right?
Right.
For you, but also make sure that you're comfortable with it.
Right.
Also make sure you know exactly what you're getting into the whole time. And that, all the cards are on the table with any transaction, buyer or seller. Well, it's just a matter of like, the details in each transaction are super important and oftentimes get overlooked, and that's where people get into trouble, down the road. Buying especially, right, where it's, you buy something, you think you got everything that you want, and then, a month later it's like,
Right.
this isn't good. Luckily that hasn't happened with you, right?
No.
Good. So, sellers, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but is it just as simple as like the market takes care of it? Or, I mean, there's stuff you got to do, right?
Yeah, we definitely have to do our due diligence, price it low and watch it go. Sometimes works, but
Yeah.
you still have to run your comps and make sure you're listing it accordingly to get the right foot traffic in
Yeah.
to have the best results.
I love that answer. I mean, what you just said emphasizes that it's not just like throw it up there and it'll take
Right.
care of itself. You throw it up there at the wrong number in either direction, high or low.
Right.
Again, you could be in a bad spot.
Yeah, the market definitely will speak on it.
And that's the thing the last few years, like, and I think it's correlated to technology out there too. Like, consumers are educated.
Right.
They know the data out there. They know what things are like, and they, as crazy as things are, it seems like, they're also quick to draw a line in the sand to where it's like,
Exactly.
it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So, not every listing out there is just rainbows and butterflies. It takes care of itself, right?
Right.
It's, we see it a lot, and especially when things aren't scorching hot in the market, that like, you see the houses that get reduced that
Right.
didn't, sell after their delayed negotiation and their ask for the bidding war, right? And now you're kind of in a spot.
Right.
So,
Right.
so we get into trouble when we play the crystal ball and let's look into it and predict the future, right?
Yeah.
But 2022 is going to be what for the real estate market? If you could take a guess, right? Nothing will hold you to, but
It's going to
you
be.
give your prediction, I'll give mine. How about that?
I think 2022, it's going to be similar to 2021. It might not be as intense because I know the banks are looking to raise interest rates a couple times going into the year. So, you might not have your less serious buyers in there. So I predict that we're going to be busy, but maybe not as crazy busy as last year. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, arrogantly speaking on our end, we're going to be busy, right? I think the crazy part I don't think we're headed to a balanced market. I don't think we're shifting. I think we're going to come off the peak, and like whatever the percentages are that have increased in pricing over the last couple of years, this is where I get in trouble because I've literally been saying this for like 4 years now on this show mainly too. Of like, it just can't keep going up, right? If we're at a point where like the market goes up another 17% or whatever the number is again this year, then it's like, how is this happening?
Right.
Like, everything has made sense in terms of it being a perfect storm for the last few years to kind of play out the way that they have. But, to do it again at the same extreme level, I guess is my point for 2022, to be as extreme as 2020 and 2021, that just seems kind of crazy to me. Now, what I'm not saying is that we're going to start to dip,
Right.
in terms of like just stuff falling off a cliff. But, if it was, I think like the national kind of forecast, right, and I'm just throwing numbers out here right now, so don't quote me on anything. But let's just say if 2021 there was a 15% price increase, value increase across the board, 2022 may be like 6.
Right.
So still in a good spot for sellers, still kind of, buyers got to kind of know what they're getting into and be okay with it.
Right.
But not to the, I guess we're not 3 times that, right? So maybe less extreme, it would be the way to predict it on my end. I think it's still going to be very strong. I think it's still going to be super competitive for buyers, and sellers are still going to reap that benefit. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned the interest rates. I think that'll play into it a little bit. I think people got to understand that even when the rates go up, we're still at historically low levels.
Right.
And even if you're, 4.25%, that's a great interest rate, historically speaking.
Right.
It sucks when you look at it and you're like, I could have had 2.8 or whatever when it was at its low. But I mean, you just got to make the right financial decisions for yourself as a buyer, and know what you're getting into and be okay with it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're confident, ready to go, not worried about the market.
No.
Good.
Nope.
Good. You
Always
shouldn't be.
prepared and
Good.
always educating ourselves to help our buyers and sellers the most we can. So
Absolutely.
we're always
Absolutely.
ready.
No, it's going to be a great year for real estate in general. It'll be another, whatever. Let's call it fun, right? It'll be
Right.
another fun year, and you're going to do great things yourself this year, Stephanie.
Thank
so Thanks for
you.
coming on, and we'll definitely have you on again. And
Yeah, looking forward to it.
absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Stephanie Trovato, Anthony Butera team, and Jason Mancuso as always. Signing off. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.